Kia ora and welcome back. My name's Zoe Stebe, your vocal coach for today. And in today's video, I'm going to be taking a look at Brendon Urie singing The Emperor's New Clothes. Now, I know this is a slightly older performance, but someone did message me asking me to have a look at this video and to see what he's actually doing with his voice. I am really excited because I am a huge Brendon Urie fan, but I haven't actually seen this performance. So I'm very interested to know what he's doing. Before I start the video, I just have to say that this is by no means a criticism of Brendon Urie and his vocals, and especially not his vocal technique. I categorically disagree with criticizing any singer, no matter what their ability, but especially not someone as fabulous and as successful as Brendon Urie. So let's get straight to it. So cool.
Welcome to the end of eras. Ice is melted back to life. Done my time and served my sentence. Dress me up and watch me die. Feels good, tastes good, must be mine. Dynasty decapitated. You just might see a ghost tonight.
Oh, this just makes me want to get back to going to gigs and watching live music again. Take me back. I'm booking as soon as Panic at the Disco go on their next world tour. Brendon has a very specific sound, but did you notice that it's got that lovely dark velvety timbre that's quite reminiscent of, say, Frank Sinatra, Michael Bublé, and it's almost that jazz setup with his larynx. It's stunning. So, how is he creating that? You can really clearly see it in his throat, what his larynx is doing, because the Adam's apple, and women have that part of the larynx as well. It's just with men, it is slightly more pronounced. And with him, you can see it's down low. So Brendon Urie uses a slightly lowered larynx when he is singing. And I know he's a dude. I'm not going to sound like him. I'm just trying to give you some ideas about how you can create these sounds. But what's happening is if you take your finger, draw a line down to your larynx, you'll sort of hit the first bump. Now don't take your head up because your larynx will sort of disappear, but feel that first bump. Now, for me, it's quite high, and I want you to make a sound, and I want you to hum from the middle to the bottom of your range. So go, Can you see? My larynx goes quite low. Yeah. And you can also make a sound like Santa Claus. Yeah. You notice even my larynx goes really low. It's all the way down there. And that's the way that we can kind of, even my speaking voice ends up sounding lower after I've done a couple of those. But we end up with this larynx in this slightly lowered position. So how can you practice that? You're going to find that lower larynx position. Can you see my larynx goes down? And you're going to hold that note for me. So I want you to think, though, about what does that remind you of? Let me know down in the comments. Like, what does that sort of like low sound that he's creating remind you of?
And if you don't know now, you know. I'm taking back the crown.
Oh my goodness me, so many things just happened there. I definitely couldn't possibly get through all of that in one little piece. But did you notice there in the second verse, he didn't have that slightly lowered sound. So he's allowed the larynx to travel up again and be sort of in a more mid position. Don't forget though, maybe Brendon Urie actually isn't doing this on purpose. This is just how he sings and how he's learned to sing. He's got a fantastically mobile, flexible instrument. I mean, he's able to go from really, really low to very, very high. And that then signals to me that he's got great symmetry within his larynx and in his instrument. or he has learned and sort of created great symmetry with his technique. In the second verse, he did go up to more of a mid-position larynx because it didn't have that same darkened sound to it. And when he's going up to whoa, whoa, he is actually flipping up into his head voice, into a falsetto sound. I'm sure he's going to do that again further into the song, so I'll point it out again. If you want to practice your octave leaps though, then check out my warm-up video up here, because that way you can go ahead and practice, which is quite a tricky interval, I will admit, that octave. And I really suggest that you practice not only all of the intervals, but like specifically the octaves, so that you're not sliding up.
Sycophants on velvet sofas, lavish mansions, vintage wine. I am so much more than royal. Snatch your chain and mace your eyes. It feels good, tastes good, must be mine. Heroes always get remembered, but you know legends never die.
Did you hear though that when he went into that feels good, da, da, that he goes back up into that mid position larynx? So he's switching between that ba, 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 with that lower larynx position. And then he's allowing it to go up again. So the main takeaway of this is you don't want to be stuck in any sort of position. So I'm saying he's using a lowered larynx position at the beginning. Don't get stuck there. So allow the voice to travel around. You want to go up and high and down. And that way you're going to be creating a much more interesting song than just sticking down here the whole time. But I mean, this dude is like, ah.
And if you don't know, now you know. I'm taking back the crowd. I'm all dressed up and naked. See what's mine and take it. Oh, yeah, the crowd. So close, how you taste it. See what's mine and take it. Oh, yeah. So kings are ruling castles. Welcome to my world of fun.
You will notice though that when he's going into that chorus section, that the larynx must rise in order to create that slightly more belty sound that he's creating there. Although the larynx in belt can be slightly lowered, we don't want to be sitting in this lower larynx position when we're going up for those higher, louder notes. Otherwise, you're not going to get enough mass on the vocal folds to create a much louder sound. That's incredible. So what's going on at the end there is you heard like a full-on rock scream, okay? What it does is it begins in its like really bass form as sounding super duper nasally. But what twang does is it allows us to access those really, really high notes, but it makes the voice sound louder and sound more straight without thickening up the vocal folds quite as much. I am going to do a technique video though as to how you can create your twang. But essentially, just to start with, and this is what I'm talking about, just the starting of the sound, you can create a sort of a witch's cackle. And that's that twangy sound. I've got twang in my natural speaking voice. You could do a bit of a sheep sound. Meh, meh, meh. And that way, you're going to access that kind of, as I say, that laser beam sound. So then when you've got it, you're going to go up the scale on that, what is a rather horrible sound. Now, please bear with me. This is not saying that this is the end product. This is the beginning of the sound, because we can't all start singing like Brendon Urie. Yeah, this is how do you learn to sing, and this is the goal. But in the beginning, we have to find our twang, and we find these sort of first place positions, or these sort of really bass vocal sounds through creating funny voices. And so I want you to try that sheepy sound. You're going to go meh, 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 meh.
And with that really awful sound, you could even speak like that as well. Which, for a female, this is quite low, so you would start a bit higher. Meh, 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 meh.
And when you're doing this, I want you to be careful that you're not going meh and you're not strangling the sheep. So the sheep still has to be alive and like in good working order, okay?
Meh, 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 meh.
And then when you get up there,
Meh.
and once you're comfortable with that sound, you can start to back off the twangs. I would suggest, though, that you start off really, really simply, make some silly sounds. What brings you into your twangy sound? I'd love to know down in the comments, what have you used to kind of like access the sound, or what reminds you of it? Gosh, isn't that an awesome song? Thank you so much for recommending it to me, because I love Panic at the Disco, and I absolutely love helping singers to create more of that sort of like rock vocal as well. Brendon Urie is such a fantastic singer, and he has such great flexibility and movement within his larynx, and you can create the same sort of sounds as well. I mean, you're obviously going to sound completely different to him because he has his instrument and you have your instrument. And isn't that just the most wonderful thing ever, that we get to enjoy all of these fabulous singers and learn from their experience and learn from their ability to just create more amazing music in this world. So I wish you all the best. If you've got any questions, then let me know down in the comments, because I'd love to help you with your vocal technique. And I can't wait to see you again soon. Have a lovely rest of your day. Ka kite anō.